I guess it's the end of the second day if you're in the Americas. But we are finishing up just a really fun day. This is our final keynote of day 2, Tuesday. And Ron, thanks for being here. We're waiting for Sasha and hope that he will arrive quickly. A huge thanks to BrainPop. I think this is the biggest logo we have in the whole thing, so Allison, you should be happy. Thanks to BrainPop for supporting this particular strand, the gaming strand, game-based learning and game design. Thanks to our other sponsors of the conference. This has been a terrific year. We're delighted to have so much support, so many enthusiastic supporters. This is a chance for you to let us know where you're participating from. Look for the star to the left of the map. Click on it twice. Click on the map. I'm not where I normally am. I am in Washington, D.C. for the week, which has been really fun. Fun to realize how this could be done from anywhere in the world. And it's been very nice here, although it did rain yesterday. And it looks like Sasha's here. And Sasha, as soon as you would like, we will let you test your microphone. Put a note in the chat that you're ready to do that. Look at what a good international audience we have.
Can you hear me now?
We're not in the right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are. You're loud and clear. Great. Well, we're going to move forward without any other interruption, just so the two of you can get started. I'm going to turn the time over to you. Have a great session. Thank you for being here.
Hello, Bronwyn.
Hey, Sasha.
How are you?
I'm excellent. And we have a nice crowd of very interesting people to talk with tonight, and the session is being recorded, so lots of other people will follow along after the event. So you can see the screen there with our backgrounds, and I'll hand over to Sasha to do the lead part of our presentation, and I'll pick up towards the center.
Great. Thank you, Bronwyn. I'll fill out my profile when I'm done talking, and that way if people want links to go after, they can kind of follow those. So welcome, everybody. I'm excited to be talking. Bronwyn and I have been working together for over a decade, really trying to understand how to integrate the power of games to transform schools and to really kind of empower and work with teachers. It's been kind of both a bottom-up and kind of in-house design team effort. So I don't know if anybody here has been part of those teacher communities that helped us evolve our thinking, but we're excited to be here. So and today what I want to talk a little bit about is about that work and really have Bronwyn talk about how she's been collaborating with teachers to build a vision. And then as we get to the end of it, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we're thinking about the project now as we've evolved into a new engine, in part housed at Arizona State University, where their president has given me support with Jim G. and Alan Gershenfeld to start a Center for Games and Impact. And I'll talk a little bit about how our thesis of how games to curate out impact has changed and evolved over the year in particular. So, is that good? Can people hear me okay? Good, thank you all. So I will get, Peggy, towards the end more of how the Linus Remix project has advanced the idea of transformational play and really taken, I think, the Quest Atlantis community into a new form. So I feel like I'm in part singing to the choir here, so I won't spend too much on what are some of the interesting dynamics that I think games curate. I'll just kind of flip through these slides. I might highlight one in particular. But to be clear, the reason why Bronwyn and I have gotten so behind games for schools is not about the fact that, they're rewards and leveling, but much deeper, some of the ways that both games, the dynamics that are integrated into them and the learning mechanics that are a part of games, whether they allow me to take on new roles in Trauma Center where I become a doctor, or the complex problem-solving routines that they allow a 6- and 7-year-old to do in Pokemon, or even some of the deep ethical dilemmas that you might find in something like Fable, or the emergent collective action themes that you get in World of Warcraft, where you have 20 or 40 people collaborating. Those are just some of the reasons why we take on games. Continuing on, I think that what we're starting to see now is a lot of powerful new models of how games do their work for impact. So when we think about Nike app around Nike Plus, I think it's partly powerful in Nike Plus because the way that the game, in particular Nike Plus as an application, is continually following me out through my day as I go for jogs or I go for rides, and then bringing back that data and allowing me to link it into professional communities of runners to compete with other people online, or to get Facebook tweets as I'm running from people who see I'm hitting certain milestones is a real spread from the notion of thinking about the game as something that lives in the computer that I go to, as opposed to the game follows me around throughout my day. And I think what Nike does really well is they realize that the game is a service that is continually changing itself and optimizing itself based on me. So, for example, in the new Nike Plus, the new kind of extension of Nike on the Connect in my living room, I actually have a personal trainer that first evaluates me stretching through the Connect, then doing strength exercises, and now works with me every 3 times a week to look at what were the goals I set up and how am I managing them in my living room, simply using the Connect as a personal trainer, and watching what I do in push-ups, sit-ups, squats, etc. And what's really cool is it now curates that data and brings it together with my last 4 years of being a runner using Nike Plus. So Nike has a system that brings together my real-world running and my in-game living room work, which are very different notions of a game as a product. They think much more about a game as a service. Moving forward, I'll skip the other two. I assume everyone knows in the bottom right, Foldit, which is really a powerful way that they have managed to create a structure that allows gamers to crowdsource folding proteins. And they've had the third major publication, major scientific breakthrough published in Science and Nature, where they've reproduced kind of perspectives on how to fold proteins that they've reproduced in the wet lab and are making scientific advances that laboratories have not made in the last decade of work. So we're seeing really interesting notions that are moving from games as product to games as services, to using games to crowdsource solutions to what I would call citizen science. And then we get into things like portals where you have game companies releasing the engines and then hosting websites for teachers. They're allowing 8th to 9th grade teachers to share their lesson plans about how they're integrating portals into their day, and even giving free copies of the game to teachers who want to use it in their classroom. I won't go into other phenomena like Minecraft and others, but I think that what we're starting to see is really diverse ways in which games are getting out in the community, ultimately around supporting impact and learning. My work has typically been around transformational play, and I'll do it briefly because there's lots of articles you can go look on transformational play. But in particular, trying to create a space in which what you know is directly related to what you're able to do and who you become, with the ultimate goal of allowing kids to take on roles and build identities in which a 10-year-old can become a scientist or a persuasive writer or a genetic scientist or a mathematician, and really put that all within a curated 2-week experience that I can give to a teacher, along with a bunch of tools to help them manage the learning in their classroom. So they can do some of the project-based kind of learning that many of us believe in, but do it in which the project is really transforming the game world so they don't have to go out into the real world necessarily in the first part of the gameplay. At the end of the presentation, I'll talk about how now we're extending that into schools. I'm going to skip this and go right into Quest Atlantis and let Bronwyn kind of talk about that history, and at the end I'll come back and really focus on where ARX is now. But hopefully that gave you some idea of the way we're thinking about games, and if you're not familiar with our project, the ways that we've been translating that into the Quest Atlantis project, and really trying to build spaces where kids are forced to take on roles, take up academic content to solve a problem that's introduced through a game world. Ron, does that set you up for your part okay?
Yeah, sure. Can people hear me all right?
Thank you, Maureen.
All right. Well, moving on, Sasha's just given you a little, very quick snapshot on some of why games are good for learning. And I think having been involved with Quest Atlantis for 10 years and the thinking that Sasha has set up over that time, it really is a philosophy coming from a different place. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that, and Sasha's going to cap it off by showing you the directions that things are going, which are amazingly exciting. So moving on, just in case you hadn't caught up on what Quest Atlantis itself is, this just gives you an idea of the current version that's available, Quest Atlantis, and you will see the name associated with it, ARX, or Atlantis Remixed, and that's the new game and the new evolution of the program. So it's an ongoing story as the project moved from Indiana University with Sasha to Arizona State, and that's been a big step in becoming an even stronger program. But you can see there the mention of the number of users, and we're in very many countries around the world, in lots of different programs, whether those be mainstream classrooms, gifted programs, international baccalaureate classrooms where it's being run as a club or an out-of-school activity, to places where it's actually integral between schools, in sister schools in different countries, or schools relating between a rural and an urban school, setting up a relationship.
And Bronwyn, I was just in there with, just not to cut in, but I was just in there with Adam, and this was 25,000 users who had done a certain amount of work. We have 90,000 users now, unique users who have pushed through 2 or 3 missions in the project.
Yeah, those numbers vary in terms of the level of activity at any different time, and because obviously our school years are all different around the world at any one time in Quest Atlantis, those numbers vary. So there's a lot happening. So moving through, we want to think a little bit about who the teachers are, and in 2009, 2010, I did some research to look at who the teachers were that were taking up this program. And this is really important because I think a lot of our efforts at change with curriculum or games or whatever innovations we're looking at may be too heavily invested on the new and the young teachers. And a lot of research shows that beginning teachers aren't really the change agents in schools. And my research actually ties in with some of the CUNY research, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later, about who the sweet spot is in trying to invest change or get change happening in your school. So let's think a little bit about who some of the Quest Atlantis teachers are of those 90,000 student accounts. And the survey we did looked at the demographics of those teachers. From 180 responded out of, I think at the time, in the end of 2009, 2010, it was 480 who trained online. So we're only looking at people who trained to use the program online. And so they were all voluntary. They weren't part of they weren't signed up by their school. They weren't part of some priority the school had placed. It was their individual